You're listening to episode 2 of the Fed and Fearless podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you the top 3 lessons I learned from a 10-day business trip. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Laura Schoenfeld. I'm a registered dietitian and coach trained in functional medicine with a passion for helping women just like you ditch perfectionism and use food, fitness, and self-care to fuel your bigger God-given purpose. I believe that it's possible to achieve your biggest life-changing goals without the frustration, obsession, or negative self-talk that so many women subject themselves to every day. All you need are the right tools, the right mindset, and the faith to turn your dreams into reality. I'm here to guide you along the way. The truth is that you are so much more than a body, and I'm on a mission to help you change the way you think and act at a core beliefs level so you can transform your physical, mental, and spiritual health from the inside out. Are you ready to become fed and fearless in your pursuit of a healthy, meaningful life? Welcome to the Fed and Fearless podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm Laura Schoenfeld. I'm your host, as always, and I'm just so excited to have a conversation with you today about some things that I learned on a recent 10-day business trip. When I tell people that I was out of town for 10 days for business, I think most people tend to think it was some kind of like conference where you're just learning and you're, sitting in your seat the whole time. And I've definitely been to a couple of pretty boring events. So I think people had this sense of me just going to these conference rooms where I was going to be sitting in a lecture the whole day. And it was definitely not like that. Luckily, because I went to 2 really awesome events that were very different from each other. And I'll tell you a little bit about each of them. But I took home some really important lessons that I'm excited to apply to my daily life, not only my personal life, but also my business life. So let me tell you a little bit about the 2 events that I went to. And that way, just to set the stage a little bit, because like I said, they were 2 very different events and they both had really good elements to each. And luckily they complemented each other very well. So it wasn't like there was a bunch of overlap or a bunch of repeats. Honestly, it was basically new content the entire time I was there, new action steps and new people to interact with, which was awesome. So the first event I went to was called Healthpreneur Live, and that was in Scottsdale, Arizona. That was an event run by one of my business coaches named Yuri Elkheim. And Yuri runs a program for health entrepreneurs that want to build a business working with specific health topics and branching out from one-on-one into group coaching, which is something that I've been putting a lot of energy into for 2019. Not that I don't want to ever do one-on-one, but I really, really love group coaching. I think the group, just having those people in the group together is such an awesome experience. And I actually really think people get better results when they're in the group environment as opposed to just doing the one-on-one. So I've been super excited to be working on this program, refining it, making it better. And that was really what I went to the event primarily to learn is how can I make my Fed and Fearless coaching program the best program out there for Christian women who want to use their food and fitness to fuel their bigger purpose. Like I said, the first one was in Scottsdale, Arizona. I flew to Phoenix, and I have found that having an extra day before or after, or maybe both, getting to the conference and then actually being in the conference is so important for me to be able to maintain my energy at the event, for me to be able to be really present, to absorb information and to be able to interact with people. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I'm an introvert. And I made a joke about that with a different group, with one of my business masterminds that I'm in, and they all laughed, thinking I was joking about it. And I was like, oh no, that's actually true. I really am truly an introvert, and not in the sense that I need to be alone all the time or anything like that. I think that's something that people misunderstand about what an introvert is. Just that I get tired from too much interaction with people. and I need to be alone to recharge my batteries, either alone or just with one person. I tend to be fine recharging if I'm just with my husband. So if I'm with one person who I feel like I can really just relax around, that's recharging for me as well. But being around a large number of people, new people, all of that, I like it. I enjoy it, but it's definitely something I have to manage my energy around. So anyway, I got to Arizona a day early, and the resort that we were staying at for the event was amazing. It was beautiful. There was a pool. It was just really nice. It kind of felt like a vacation. And so I got to spend the day that I got there getting to know some of the women that were there that I had met through the program, but was getting the opportunity to hang out with in real life, which was really awesome. Definitely encourage, if you're ever going to an event, to go a little early and possibly see if you can meet up with the other people going to the event. And then it was 3 pretty packed days. I wouldn't say that it was as packed as I've experienced at other events. Yuri actually built in a lot of downtime, which was pretty cool, just because I think part of the reason we were there was to get to know the other people in the program and to make connections. And it's hard to make connections if you're just going from activity to activity or so focused on learning. So he built in a lot of interaction time. We even had an hour where we just played games. My table played catchphrase, which definitely brought out the competitive nature that I have. And I was like, I know this is supposed to be fun, but I'm really serious about winning this right now. So anyway, it was a really awesome experience. And the cool thing about Yuri's conference is that it was almost 100% implementation. So he actually had us go through a workbook that had us come up with our plans for the next 90 days and get really clear about what we need to be focusing on for our businesses. And what I discovered is that I really wanted to focus on the delivery of my program and making sure that I'm essentially setting it up so that people can't fail, because everything that they need is very clear and they know exactly what steps they need to take in order to make progress. So that's what I'm working on with the program. And I was really inspired by all the stuff we talked about as far as making group programs really effective and making it a great experience for our clients. So there was lots of other things we talked about, but that was really what I took away as far as the business side of things goes. And we had a lot of fun at the conference as well. The most fun I had was when we had a silent disco on, I think it was the Saturday night. I'm losing track of days, but I had never done a silent disco before. And I was like a little not sure if I was going to enjoy it. And I had so much fun. We danced for like 3 hours or something. I know we wrapped up around midnight that night, and I can't even remember the last time I danced like that. Even my wedding, I didn't get to dance like that because I was like managing the guests and making sure I was interacting with people. Normally I would have been very happy to just dance the whole time. 3 hours of dancing was so fun, and I love dancing, and it was just something that I don't get to do that often. So it was really great that that was incorporated into the trip, because we don't get to just like let loose and have fun as often as I think it would be nice to experience. And a lot of times, even when we have the opportunity to dance, it's not like you don't get to dance long enough to really let loose, which I know I tend to be a little bit like stiff in the beginning. So I just really appreciated being able to do that. It was really, really fun. And then I flew from Phoenix to Atlanta for the next event. The next event was called Magnify Live, and this was with my coach, Sarah Anna Powers, who is a Christian faith-based business coach that helps people. She helps people that run businesses that either are Christian, that are running a non-spiritual business, or Christians who are running a business that is designed to serve Christians. That's who her audience is. And we basically focused on the whole concept of entrepreneurship from a faith-based perspective, which I really appreciate. Just being a client of Anna's for the last year, getting to have her help me filter some of the stuff I'm learning through a Christian lens has been so helpful. And I actually feel like a lot of what I've learned through her is stuff that I've been able to translate into serving the women in my Fed and Fearless program, which is really awesome. So that conference was definitely another different experience. I've never been to a faith-based conference before like that. And it was just such a fun opportunity to get to know other Christian business owners and just have that knowledge that we were all on the same wavelength as far as our beliefs. And when we were talking about things like mindset or money mindset, that kind of thing. It was all coming from a faith-based perspective, which I think was really beneficial to those of us who do see things through that lens. And I got to meet a lot of really inspiring business owners that are doing great work and also doing work that is just what they feel God put in their life as their purpose in this season. So it was awesome to get to interact with all those women and just get to spend some time with women who are, really taking risks to pursue their purpose and live the life that they feel they were called to, even when things get hard and even when things are not coming easy, or, they have to make tough decisions about investing money or, getting help or hiring a team, all of that stuff that goes on behind the scenes when you're running a business. Getting to do that while trusting God that you're making the right decisions is so valuable. So that conference, we focused a little bit more on the mindset piece and setting goals and just really getting clear about what our vision was for our business. And actually, at both of these conferences, I got to speak on stage as part of a panel, which was really cool because I got to tell people about what I've been experiencing over the last couple of years running a business and the lessons that I've learned. And that's actually what inspired this episode today, because I wanted to be able to share with you the lessons that I've learned at those conferences and really just in general from running a business for the last, it's going to be 6 years soon. I know not a lot of you are business owners that are listening, or maybe you are, I don't know, actually be interested to find that out. But those of you who are listening, whether or not you run a business, there's so much to be learned from the personal development that those of us who are entrepreneurs really have to go through in order to have a successful business. I've heard some people say before that entrepreneurship is basically self-development on steroids, which I definitely agree with. It's something that really forces you outside your comfort zone and really makes you dig up what kind of beliefs you have about yourself, about the world, about who you are and what your purpose is. So it's awesome. And I would not want to live my life in any other way. And it's also a lot more challenging than I think it would be if I just got a regular job and, had somebody else that was leading the work that I did and I didn't have to make all these decisions all the time. So all of that said, I think there's a lot that I can share with you all, whether or not you own a business, about how to approach life in a way that helps you pursue your purpose more effectively. So I have 3 lessons that I want to share about my 10-day business trip. And the first lesson was something that came to me when I was at the Magnify Live event, and Anna gave us a moment to kind of write down and recap what our big takeaways from the event were. And I was thinking about what was I learning, not only from that event, but also from the event in Arizona that I'd come from. And what came to mind was the phrase, present is better than proving. And sometimes when that kind of stuff comes into my mind, based on my faith-based perspective, I'm believing that God is kind of putting that in my mind for me to think about things differently or to learn a lesson that he wants me to learn. So present is better than proving was something that I think mainly came up for me because of my participation in those panels that I did from stage, because I was kind of nervous about them. I think people didn't realize, the ones who were there, they thought I was super confident. And it's not that I'm not confident in myself. It's that being on stage makes me uncomfortable because, first of all, I don't do it that often. Doing a podcast, I'm sitting here in my office talking to a microphone, so I'm not in front of anybody. But for whatever reason, when I'm in a presentation environment and I'm in front of a lot of people, I go into like serious fight or flight response. And I believe the reason for that is because when I'm in a smaller group or in a one-on-one situation, I'm really good at kind of becoming like a chameleon and morphing into the person or the, I don't know if I want to say the person, but kind of the personality that I think is going to best suit the person that I'm interacting with or the group that I'm in. So I know that might sound terrible. I'm not giving up any of my values or doing anything that's 100% against who I am, but I will say, I'll act a little bit differently if I'm with a group of Christian friends versus non-Christian friends, or entrepreneur friends versus non-entrepreneur friends. So I do kind of morph to the situation. And when I'm in a room that's got, 20, 30, 100 people that are listening to my talk or listening to my, my insights, I think it just makes me uncomfortable because I don't know what everybody needs from me. But this all comes back to that concept of present is better than proving, because what I realized is one of the main reasons I was nervous is because I kept thinking that I needed to provide value to the audience that was there. So I was trying to think what's going to be the most valuable thing that I can share with them so that they're receiving value from my story sharing. And I was also putting a lot of pressure on myself to show up in the way that made my coaches look good. Not that I don't believe that they're good coaches, but I just didn't want to say anything that made them look bad. So I was kind of concerned with their reputation in terms of what I was saying. And I tend to be a little bit of a shoot from the hip kind of person. So I was a little bit nervous that I was going to say something that didn't make them look the way that I thought that they wanted to look to the audience. So I was definitely in that proving mindset, like trying to prove that I belonged on that stage, trying to prove that I could do what my coaches wanted me to do, even though they didn't really put any pressure on me to have any specific outcome that I was trying to accomplish. And I just noticed in general, as I was spending time with other people, a lot of times it wasn't that I was trying to prove myself worthy necessarily. It was more that I was trying to really show a lot of value and almost represent the person that I think they thought I am. I know that sounds a little strange, but I had a lot of people coming up to me saying how inspiring my business is and that they love what I do and that it's just, so awesome to see the work that I put out. And this will kind of come up in a little bit with my second lesson, but with the first lesson, I think it started to make me feel like I had to prove that they were right about that compliment, which is kind of ridiculous when I say it out loud. But I think a lot of it was stemming from feeling like I had to earn my spot to be there, which again, when I say it, it sounds silly, but something that I've really dealt with over the past probably 20 to 30 years of my life is kind of that feeling like I don't belong. I think it was a lot worse when I was growing up, and it also was a feeling that drove a lot of poor decision-making as I was in my teens and 20s, because I was always trying to prove myself to others, even if the person I was trying to prove myself to was not someone that was really a good person to be in my life, or the relationship was not a good relationship for me. But I had to prove that, hey, I can make this person like me. Or if it was a romantic relationship, I can make this person love me. So a lot of that behavior, I think I have successfully eliminated from my life, which is great. I think I'm awesome at it in my personal life. I'm very good at emphasizing the relationships that I think are the right relationships for me. And I don't get into people pleasing with the relationships that are not good for me. And again, this isn't to say that these are not valuable people. It's just I've learned to be really clear about my boundaries around who I'm giving my time to. So I think in my personal life, I've been able to eliminate a lot of that proving. Not 100%. I will admit that it's not 100% gone, but a lot of it has improved, mostly since I became a Christian about, 7 years ago at this point. So in my business and just in general, the way that I have been approaching my business in the last couple of years, I do think that I'm still kind of dealing with that proving mindset where I want to prove to my audience that my ideas are good, that I can help people, that my programs are worth investing in. And the funny thing is I know that they are. I really do know that the work that I do is life-changing and that the people that join my programs get a ton of value from them. But for some reason, I still have that sense that I still have to prove it to them, So I realized that I've been in a very proving sort of mindset for this year, maybe last year as well, just trying to prove that I'm capable of doing the things that I set my mind to and that the work that I'm putting out in the world is valuable. And I think that proving mindset is something that actually ends up, first of all, it makes me a lot more stressed when I'm doing the work that I'm doing because, I'm looking for other people to tell me that the work is good as opposed to being content and happy with the work just from my own general standards, because I have very high standards for myself and I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself to do things to excellence. And not that there's anything wrong with creating excellent products, but I think for me, I really do put a lot of pressure on myself to go above and beyond what's even necessary. So that's part of that proving mindset, is being like, I need to make this perfect so people will get good value, even though, I'm not saying I'm going to phone it in, but I could probably do 80, 90% of what I think is perfect and people would still get great value. So learning how to take some of the pressure off myself to make everything perfect has been part of my reduction in proving. But the other thing I really noticed when I was at this event is that if I was conscious about simply being present, not only with the person, but also with the group that I was in, with, if somebody was on stage talking, just thinking about like focusing and being present with them, I actually feel like I got a lot more value, not only from the event itself, but also from the interactions that I was having with people. And not only did I get more value, but I actually think they got more value, because being present, first of all, takes the pressure off myself, and it allows me to have a greater impact because I'm truly listening and taking in what that person is saying, and really receiving that feedback or receiving that sharing that they're doing. And I'm able to help them feel heard and also respond in a more appropriate way because I've really heard what they said, rather than trying to think about how am I going to like help this person, or how am I going to share something valuable, or how am I going to, I hate to say it, but there's probably a little bit of me that wants to impress the person. And when I'm thinking about myself and what I'm going to say and what I'm going to give, I end up not listening to what that person's saying and not really receiving everything that they're giving to me. So being able to be present and kind of quiet that proving mind in my brain actually allows me to have a better conversation, have a better experience in the learning environment and in the small group environment, be able to connect with others better. And I'm telling you, this is something I still am going to be working on, but we would be in these groups where somebody would be talking. Maybe, there's like 12 of us at the table, and we did this thing where Anna called it one table, one conversation, which was really cool. Every time somebody was talking, I had to keep reminding myself, stop thinking about what you're going to say and just listen to what other people are saying, and really trust that God's going to give you wisdom and insight into what would be valuable in that circumstance. And also, if I say something that's not valuable to anybody, that doesn't mean that I don't deserve to be there. So that was the mindset I really had to cultivate in myself when I was at these events. And it's something that I really think I'm going to take home with me and implement into my daily life. And like I said, even with my clients, I feel like when I'm one-on-one, I definitely am listening and, listening to what they're saying and thinking about like, how can I bring out the deeper answer or the deeper question in the question that they're asking. But there are times where I get into that mindset of I need to give them the right answer. And then that can cause me to get distracted from what they're saying. So that's another area that with my clients, I want to focus on really, really listening and kind of clearing my problem solving brain and not having that take over, and allow the answer to come out through the conversation as opposed to me thinking what's the right thing to say in this situation. So anyway, now you get to see a little bit behind the scenes of how I think and the things that I'm working on in my own business and my own life in general. Now, the second thing that I learned on this 10-day business trip was to accept the freaking compliment. So this is something that, again, I think I'm getting better at compared to what I used to be like 5, 10, 15 years ago. But I did notice myself consistently downplaying or deflecting compliments, because I had a lot of people that I didn't know at these events that knew me through the internet, which can always be a bit of a weird experience when someone comes up to you and says, "Oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. I love your business." And I'm like, "Hi, I don't know who you are. Nice to meet you." So I had a lot of people coming up to me, complimenting my work, complimenting even just little things like my website or, the opt-in page that I built, and saying that it was inspiring to them. And I found myself every time I was getting a compliment kind of deflecting and being like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I mean, I can definitely do better," or "It's not really that amazing," or anything like that. And I think, again, this kind of comes back to me wanting to fit in, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm like better than anybody else, or that, that I'm not just like them. So I kind of deflect the compliment, because to be honest, it makes me uncomfortable when people put me on a pedestal like that. And the thing is, accepting a compliment is not making myself better than other people. And really deflecting compliments makes the other person potentially feel like their feedback is invaluable. So it's really, really important to be able to accept compliments. And it was funny because I didn't realize how much I was doing it until one time, one of the women there, her name was Jen Eden, shout out to Jen. She was giving me a compliment, I think about probably like the way I looked in a picture. She was like, "Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a good picture." And I just kind of like brushed it off. And she said, "Can you just stop and soak this in for a second and just receive this compliment?" And it's so funny because I don't usually have people say that kind of thing. And luckily Jen is kind of like me where she says what's on her mind. And I kind of stopped for a second and was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I am kind of ignoring what you're saying and brushing it off and not taking it in." And that's not really a healthy way for us to live, to be constantly deflecting other people's compliments to us. And again, I don't think it has to go in the opposite direction where suddenly you think you're the best at everything you do and you think you're better than other people, which honestly, I feel like is part of the fear that I have about accepting compliments, that it's going to come across that way. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging a compliment that somebody gives to you. It's a gift, and it's great to receive a gift like that. And I think being able to let that compliment build you up to help you see who you are through other people's eyes, that can be really beneficial to getting to a place where you feel confident in yourself and you feel like you can show up as yourself and just be yourself in social situations or work situations and not feel like you have to be someone different to be accepted or to be good enough. So I definitely need to get some work. I need to do some work on accepting compliments, just because that experience showed me that part of my journey of pursuing my purpose is learning to appreciate everything I have and everything I've already accomplished. And that doesn't mean that I don't keep working towards my future goals or keep working on growing and achieving more. It just means that I can actually appreciate what's already been accomplished in my life, and I can give God glory for the things that I already have and really have gratitude for where I'm at currently. And this is something I teach my clients in my Fed and Fearless coaching program, because a lot of them have goals. They have health goals, they have body composition goals, they have fitness goals, they have life goals, and all of that is great. I am definitely a fan of having goals and dreams and things that you're working towards. But I also always want to make sure my clients are grounded in gratitude for their current circumstances, for what they've already accomplished, for the things that they're happy about, for the things that they appreciate, because that helps us actually work towards our goals from a place of excitement and joy and, just seeing what's possible, as opposed to thinking my life's not good enough and it needs to change and I can't be happy until I reach that goal. So it's a subtle difference, but it's so important. And again, this is something I teach my clients in my Fed and Fearless coaching program. And this is something that even when we talk about things like weight loss, a lot of people believe that working towards a weight loss goal creates negative self-image in a person, which frequently those two things are connected. But in my perspective, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a weight loss goal or taking actions that would affect your weight. I do want to make sure that you're doing it from a place of, I already am good enough as I am. I already love myself for who I am. I already see myself as worthy because I'm a child of God. And the actions I'm taking are just because I have a goal that I'd like to see some change in my body, in my weight, in my mobility, in, how I fit into my clothes, in my quality of life. Because if you have a lot of weight to lose, that is something that can get in the way of you living the life that you want to live. So I look at it as make the change from a sense of good self-esteem. And it doesn't really matter what your goal is, because you'll never be trying to accomplish a goal in order to get that self-esteem that you're looking for. And like I said, that kind of brings us full circle to that compliment piece, because I think a lot of times those of us who struggle to be grateful or struggle to be content with our current circumstances also struggle to accept the compliments about who we are now and what we've already accomplished, because we're looking at it as being it's not good enough. So learning how to accept compliments and positive feedback about what you're doing, or, your accomplishments, or, the current state of your life, that allows us to say, yes, it is actually great. And I can be grateful for the things that I've done. And the circumstances I have right now, even if it's not my future vision. Okay, so I have one more to share. So my third lesson that I took home from my 10 days of business travel is that community is everything. Now, I feel like I definitely knew this about life in general. I've put a lot of time and energy and emotional investment and even financial investment into my local church. I go to a church called Vertical Life in Holly Springs, North Carolina, and I have been involved with that church as a church plant for, I think it's been about 5 years now, which sounds kind of crazy to me when I think about it. But these are the people that I'm doing life with, along with my husband and my family and my neighborhood and all that. This is the community that I've really purposefully plugged into and really put energy and investment into. And when I talk about investment can be time, it can be energy, it can be vulnerability with relationships, it can be money. I definitely give money to the church to help that church grow. And so it's an example of me valuing something, specifically my community, to the point where I'm willing to give of my resources in every way. So that idea of community is not something that's new to me necessarily, but what I didn't realize was how important it is to have community around you that is moving in the direction that you're moving in and has similar goals and similar experiences to help you just feel like you're on the right path. Because being an entrepreneur can be lonely. I know I've talked with a couple of my friends about this, and I've seen some people posting on social media lately about the experience of being an entrepreneur. I know it tends to look like all rainbows and butterflies, like, oh, working from your laptop on a beach, sipping a Mai Tai. Like, sometimes it looks like that, but usually being an entrepreneur takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it can get super lonely. And honestly, sometimes I feel like when I'm making decisions about my business that there's something wrong with me, or that I'm crazy for making the decisions that I make. Even just the amount of money I invest back into my business sometimes feels a little scary. I had posted on Instagram recently about the amount of money that I spend on personal development to allow me to run my business better. And at this point, it's somewhere in the $2,000 to $3,000 range per month. And that's something that most of my local friends and even my husband, they don't spend that kind of money on themselves. And sometimes I start to think like, am I normal for investing this kind of money into myself and my personal development? And when I'm around other people that, they spend $200 a month on themselves or $50 a month, or maybe they don't spend any money on themselves, it just starts to feel strange to me. And maybe I start to question, like, is this right? Am I making the right choices? Am I, being reckless or anything like that? So being around other entrepreneurs that are also working towards growing a business and have a vision for their business that goes beyond just them, because that's something that I've recognized, that the dream and the vision that I have for my business requires that I hire people. So if any of you are business owners, you can't hire people without being able to pay them. And so I really have to level up in my ability to bring in income so that I can pay a team, so we can reach more people, so that we can change more lives. And so I can even change the lives of my staff, because they get to do work that they love too. So my vision for my business actually needs a team, and it needs a level of investment financially that feels uncomfortable sometimes. But when I was around the two groups of people at the two different conferences, one is health entrepreneurs that are all focused on helping other people get healthy and resolve health issues. And then the other group was Christian business owners that are looking to follow the dream and the vision that God put on their hearts for their business. It really made me feel normal again. And I think we don't value the benefit of being around people who understand what you're going through, who have been there before, who are there right now, and can really just stand in that place with you and say, you know what, I don't have an answer for you about what to do, but I know that I've been there before, and I know that you'll get out of this, or you'll be able to make the right decision. You can trust yourself. You're doing great. All of that kind of feedback that you can get from other people going through what you're going through is so important. And I think I didn't realize how much I needed that until I was at these live events, because like I said, I'm super invested in my local community. I have great relationships. I have an awesome marriage where, my husband's so supportive of me, but there is that piece of needing other people that understand what I'm going through because they're going through it as well. And this is something that I think you all, whether you own businesses or not, that you should really be thinking about when it comes to your community. Because as an example, a lot of the women in my Fed and Fearless coaching program, pretty much all of them, even if they have different health goals, struggle with perfectionism around their health and struggle with body image challenges. And that's an issue that, first of all, is so common for so many women. I mean, I think most of my friends that I am even having in my personal day-to-day life have had an issue with self-image at some point. And many of them have also had body image issues. And even my coach, Anna, who has shared openly that she struggled with an eating disorder. She had anorexia for several years, and then that anorexia kind of transitioned into binge eating disorders. And she's super successful and super inspiring and very confident in herself. And she also has that history of having that eating disorder. So I think you would be surprised, first of all, to know how many women struggle with perfectionism around food and fitness to the point where it distracts them from enjoying their life or pursuing their purpose. And I think that's for two reasons. One is we tend to not talk about it because being vulnerable with other people and other women especially is not something that a lot of us are super comfortable with. And we don't want to burden them with our story, and we don't want to talk about our weaknesses. So we keep that stuff to ourselves. And then we start to feel like we're alone and that we're the weird ones, that we're, fighting this battle on our own and that nobody understands us. And, even we're crazy for even thinking what we think. But when these women come into my Fed and Fearless coaching community, they get to see that there's other women that are having the exact same challenges that they're having. And many of them are seeing breakthrough in those areas, and they get to share what's been helpful to them or what kind of helped them get to the next level. And yes, I'm in there answering questions and coaching and giving feedback and teaching and all that good stuff, but there's so much value to them also being around other women that are doing the same thing. So it's something that I can't overstate the importance of enough, to have a community of people around you that are experiencing similar struggles and have similar goals to what you're trying to accomplish. Because even if you have amazing friends and a great spouse and great family, you may still feel like people don't understand what you're going through and that you are unique in the struggle that you're having. And being around other people who are experiencing that struggle can actually create just this sense that you're normal and that what you're experiencing is normal, and that the choices that you're making are not crazy, and that you're on the right path, and that you're making progress, and that what you're doing is really important and valuable. And just having people that can see the struggle that you're in and actually really validate the work that you're doing, I think is really important and really valuable as well. So to recap what I learned from this 10-day business trip, one is that present is better than proving. So being present and kind of turning off that, like, I need to show people why I deserve to be here kind of mindset, and really just receiving from people, being with them, listening to them, holding space for them. There's so much value in that. And that's something that I know if you're like me and you're a perfectionist and you have high standards for yourself and you want to, live up to those standards, a lot of times we can get into our heads about how do I give in this situation and how do I show my value, as opposed to just being like, hey, my value is already established and I can just sit here and listen. And that might be all I do. And that's enough. Number 2 is accept the freaking compliment. So learn how to receive the compliments you receive. Don't deflect them. Don't try to justify, oh, it's not that great, or, oh, it's fine. Really just accept them and use that as fuel for a gratitude practice to say how thankful you are to God for the things that you have already, to the things that you've accomplished, and for the things that are coming your way. It's just a matter of time. And then finally, number 3 is that community is everything. And it's so, so important to have a community of people around you who are in a similar stage of life that you are, looking at accomplishing similar goals, having similar struggles, and just being able to be there to support each other and to keep each other motivated and committed to the path, because being around others going through the same journey will help you stay committed to your own journey. And now that you know the 3 takeaways that I just shared, I would love to hear from you. So if you want to reply back to me either on my website or if you want to message me on Instagram and let me know which of these 3 lessons was most powerful for you and which one most resonated with where you're at in your life. I would love to connect with you. So head over to Instagram. My handle is @LauraSchoenfeldRD. You can either message me privately using the DM function, or if you see this post for this podcast episode, if you want to write a comment there, I would love to hear from you and hear how this episode affected the way you're going to look at this week or this month or even the rest of this year. All right. Well, it was so awesome hanging out with you all. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. I hope you have a great week and I'll catch you next week. Take care, everyone. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the Fed and Fearless podcast. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes so I can keep sharing my best content with you every week. And use the hashtag #FedAndFearless when sharing the episodes that you love the most on social media like Instagram and Facebook so I can connect with you personally. And if you're enjoying the content I've been sharing on this podcast, you're going to absolutely love my free online training, The 5 Secrets of Fearlessly Healthy Women of Faith. This training covers the 5 most important shifts you must make in order to become truly healthy and free from fear around your health decisions. Listen, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were created for so much more than fear and frustration around food and fitness. Let me show you how you can experience true freedom in your health and incredible purpose for your life. If you're ready to experience true peace and freedom in your health, here's what I want you to do. To watch this free training, go to fedandfearless.com/free. That's fedandfearless.com/FREE free. You'll get instant access to this 1-hour training, and you'll walk away with a brand new method for approaching health from a faith-based perspective, so you can live the purpose-driven life you were created for. Go get your free download now at fedandfearless.com/free. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. Until then, get out there and be fearless in your pursuit of a healthy, purpose-driven life.